All right. So next up, obviously, is restore the SnyderVerse. A little bit of an update. Not much of an update. There really isn't much going on in the world of the SnyderVerse. I mean, nothing came up this past week, right? That has anything to do with SnyderVerse. Nothing at all.
Not at all.
So originally in my notes, because I wrote them on Friday, as you know, as I normally try to prepare a few days early, there was really no news. And then information broke from Grace Randolph saying, "Hey, Ben Affleck is not going to die in the Flash movie, and he's keeping the door open to being Batman again." Real quick, I want to get your thoughts on this because the rest of this show is all about DC. So this is all going to kind of be a hodgepodge of everything. So I want to get your thoughts first on that, though. Grace Randolph, she's coming out saying that the latest version of the Flash movie has Ben Affleck's Batman surviving, which means he is open to returning as Batman in future installments of something. What are your thoughts?
So obviously, we've been led to believe that it's been very hard to track where Ben Affleck stands in terms of the Batman role that he has within the greater DCEU. Obviously, he's my favorite iteration of the character, so I would obviously love to see him return in some sort of capacity, whether that's a solo film, supporting role in other films. In terms of Grace Randolph's specific comments, it's hard to keep a track in terms of where is legitimate news versus what we can take with a grain of salt. I obviously will lean towards believing this since I'm obviously a big advocate of the character's iteration itself. But it certainly makes sense. We're going to touch on it in a little bit, but the Flash, breaking news, guys, the Flash got moved back almost over a year now. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds in terms of what is going to be changed, what is going to be, I guess, retrofitted to fit certain iterations of films. And I personally think that letting Ben Affleck's Batman die and the Batman for Michael Keaton's Batman to, I guess, take over the main Batman role in the DC extended universe continuity is a mistake. That's a personal opinion of mine, but that's just something that I personally feel like. I know Michael Keaton's probably adored amongst a majority of the fans due to obviously his films are great, but the DCEU is a different animal, honestly. And with the foundation that's already been set with the movies that we've seen, it's hard for me to imagine Michael Keaton's Batman at the age that Michael Keaton's at. And it's no offense to his age at the moment. It's just very hard for me to envision a universe with that Batman as the main Batman. So obviously we're going to get into it in a little bit about in terms of what's going on behind the scenes, but just off of face value, I obviously love to see Ben Affleck live. Batfleck, as everyone likes to call him. So it's going to be interesting for sure.
Now, I kind of want to point out here. So this whole Batfleck Lives thing, don't get me wrong, I'm excited about it. I, the Flash movie, as I've said for the last year and a half, is going to reestablish the DCEU. What happens in the Flash is going to solidify the main continuity in the DCEU moving forward. That is what it is. That's what's happening. That's how it's going to be moving forward. There's no changing that. Whether the Flash succeeds, fails, bombs, whether Aquaman fails or succeeds, this continuity is moving forward. They have many projects in line. They have things in production, things in post production, things just moving. This continuity is going to move forward. So whether Ben Affleck's Batman lived or died in the Flash didn't bother me as long as it served the story. If it serves the story for him to live, great. If it serves the story for him to die, great. Just make the story work and make it good. That's all I care about. Michael Keaton coming in as being the Bruce Wayne of this DCU continuity, and I guess we'll see flashbacks and Batgirl of him being Batman. That I am a little worried about, but my interest is more piqued than anything for that to see how they make that all fit together, because I am such a big fan of Ben Affleck, but I grew up with Michael Keaton's Batman. That was the first movie
Right.
I ever saw in theaters, was 1989's Batman. So I am all for seeing what they can do with this and seeing how they can make it fit. But again, all I really care about is good story. I want to see a good, strong story that works. Now, that's not to say I'm not wanting the Snyderverse to be restored. I absolutely want the Snyderverse to be restored. But here's the kicker. Even if Ben Affleck's Batman died in the Flash movie, that doesn't mean they can't restore the Snyderverse. That doesn't mean that Snyder's vision, his arc, his Elseworlds story could not live on, because that is exactly what they are, as Elseworld stories. So this does not necessarily mean that the Snyderverse is restored, like so many people were claiming on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Oh, he's staying alive. They're greenlighting the Snyderverse. No, that had no bearing on the Snyderverse being restored. They're making a movie. They're trying to put the best story they can on screen. So with that said, yes, I absolutely want the Snyderverse restored. No, I don't care what they do with the Flash movie, as long as it's good. And it has no bearing on what happens over on this side with the Snyderverse. It doesn't.
I just have a fascination with this movie because it's interesting to me that they've decided, obviously they've taken liberties from the Flashpoint comics, and I just personally feel like with the foundation that was set, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and all the ensuing movies after that, that they did have a Flashpoint story there. You had Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne, you had Lauren Cohen as Martha Wayne, so you had the characters there. It's just interesting to me that it's definitely a Flashpoint adaptation, but
Yeah.
to call it a direct adaptation is definitely a stretch. But I just feel like it doesn't do the storyline that they're trying to promote any justice, honestly. I don't really have any updates in terms of Aquaman or Wonder Woman standing in the films, but the fact that it's a Flashpoint movie and we do not have a concrete evidence of Aquaman or Wonder Woman being involved at all is kind of it's kind of disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said last week, and what we talked about, it's going to be a very polarizing movie for sure. It can go either way with the fans at this point, regardless if you're a Restore the Snyderverse fan or just a regular DC fan. It is going to reset the universe for sure. What that means, not too entirely sure. I guess we'll have to wait until the curtains close on the film to really give a real idea on that. But it's going to be interesting for sure. I wish it was a direct adaptation of the Flashpoint. I'm a big fan of the animated movie for sure.
Oh, so am I.
But it's going to be interesting. I'm a wait and see type of guy when it comes to the Flash. Love the director, love the character, but it's going to be a wait and see for me for sure.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the Snyderverse, I did throw a poll up on Twitter today because I wanted to find out what everybody's expectations are with the closing of the merger coming just in a few weeks. Now, we know that the stockholder, the shareholders, all approved the merger the other day, which is basically fast tracking everything to being complete within the next couple weeks. So I said, what are your expectations once the Discovery WB merger is complete? And, I wanted to see, are people thinking there's going to be swift changes, no change at all, slow and steady changes? And, everybody's seeming to go with the slow and steady changes, which I think is what we need to be looking at. Yeah, it's only 31 votes, but I think people are seeing that, this is going to be a slow transition. And when it comes to the Snyderverse, that is going to be part of that slow, steady change. Don't expect Zaslav to come out and say, Snyderverse is restored coming 2023 on HBO Max or anything, or whatever they call it now, because they're going to be combining Discovery Plus or whatever it is and HBO Max. But it's going to be a slow pace when it comes to this being complete. So I know everybody's looking at, when is the merger date? When is that going to happen? Patience, because even when the merger comes, I don't want everybody to be disappointed when they don't hear what they want to hear that day or within the next few days. That's kind of why I put that up and wanted to talk about that. But finally, before we move on to the rest of the DC content, I want to remind everybody of this because I've been planning this. It's not as big as I wanted it to be. I couldn't get the people that I wanted to get involved with it, but we're still doing something here at Bridging the Geekdoms. We're still going to have a good time celebrating 1 year of Zack Snyder's Justice League. We're going to, on March 19th, which is next Saturday, going to have a live stream watch along of Zack Snyder's Justice League. During that time, we're just going to talk about all things Snyderverse. That's all we're going to talk about, whether it's commentary on the movie or if it's going to be updates. Maybe we'll have some news. Maybe some breaking news will come over this week that we can talk about. or speculation or theories. So that is this Saturday. So join us here, 3 p.m. Eastern, at Bridging the Geekdoms. Now, I will not be playing the movie on the stream. We can't do that. So I'm going to be watching it over here on my tablet. It's going to be right here on my tablet. We'll queue it up for anybody watching, and we can watch along together and just comment and have a good time, because I want to celebrate. I wanted to do something to celebrate this. And, hey, I'm going to try and push people to donate to, AFSP, all that, because the movement, the restore, or the release the Snyder Cut movement,
Yep.
Played
been a
huge
while
part
since
in
we've heard that. Since we've heard that movement, yeah.
But we can't forget where we came from.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I just want to I want to do that. So that's this Saturday. It's going to be a nice long 4-hour stream. So please join us as we watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. All right.